Agent of F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E. Ingobnito by Lark Sabre. Read by Lark Sabre. Chapter 12. Sharona and the Alligator. The gaps between the rungs were greater than the heights of the goblins themselves, so they had to hang off a rung, then drop themselves down each step of the way. But they were possessed of a weaselly nimbleness, which meant this descent posed no problem. Hunter, not being a real goblin, was a little more awkward, but he was one of those boys whose feats on the local climbing frame confirmed that mankind had indeed evolved from the apes, so there was no ungainliness which was glaringly ungoblin-y. At the bottom of the ladder the sewer surroundings were nearly as grey as the screen of Hunter's tablet, after he had ignored the little lightning bolt icon reminding him to recharge it at the mains. If the last goblin to climb down had pulled the manhole cover shut behind him, the sewer would have been cast into a darkness totally dead screening the real world. But as this was Hunter, the mock goblin, really a rookie agent of F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E, the do's and don'ts of sewer etiquette were foreign to him. Thus, a lingering shaft of light, illuminating the sewer from the more pleasant, or at least pleasant-smelling Braddock's Meadow, won Hunter a minute to gather his bearings before the goblins moved deeper into the tunnel. But it turned out the goblins had a fix for the sightlessness of sewer spelunking, and it wasn't an all-carrot diet. Won't the humans wonder why the manhole's been left open, Lefty? I'm sorry, I forgot to... But before Hunter could finish, Lefty interrupted him, his voice bearing that sneering edge common to all conversation.
What's the matter with you, crazy Joey? You gone soft? Forget about it. We don't care if some humoke falls down the manhole. In fact, it'd be sweeter than one of old Mama Lucino's spicy sneeze balls if a stupid humoke did break their stupid long legs.
Yeah, added John Gobby. If it weren't for them humokes grabbing all our territory, we wouldn't have to live down here on Stink Street.
Now, come on, you wise gubs,
the Gabbo curtly commanded his Mobolino minions.
Let's get out of here before some humoke sticks his stupid button nose down here and sees us gubsters yammering like we was waiting for the return of King Oddpin. Switch your bugsies on, you mooklins.
What's a bogsy when it's at home, wondered Hunter, only to have his unspoken question answered by 3 blinding flashes of light. Limbo dancing leprechauns! I'm glad I'm wearing these Fay-Ban shades. The 3 bright, slightly off-white lights reminded Hunter of the torches on miners' helmets, only they were somewhat smaller and seemed to emanate from the front of the Godbers' necks, one apiece. Could these bogsies be something to do with the magical protective amulets Agent Wildflower told me the goblins wear? Reflected Hunter in detective mode, stroking the long chin of his goblin mask, which was nearly as long as a postiche, the weird metal beard attachments Egyptian pharaohs used to wear. Amulets are usually worn around the neck, some sort of charm attached to a necklace, aren't they? Maybe their amulets double as torches. They could have other magical properties too. I'll have to ask Lefty later, but gotta keep it casual. I can't appear too interested. This quartet of 3 goblins and the 1 goblin pretender ventured further into the tunnel, balancing upon a concrete ledge. Alongside gloopily flowed a whiffy river of what was self-evidently raw sewage. The atmosphere in the sewer was claustrophobic and creepy, a fog of fog, fats, oils and greases, hanging in the air like the most evil fart imaginable, with the steady beat of unseen drips keeping perfect time in the background. The goblins' shadows looked monstrous, like wolf-eared sharks, against the dingy, glistening walls of the tunnel. Hopscotching hobgoblins! This sewer's like some dilapidated, haunted water park, where the last thing you want to do is get wet. And it's the brown ghosts of all yesterday's breakfasts haunting me down here, thought Hunter, in a bid to buoy up his spirits with toilet humour. He was, after all, still a kid, even if he had become a secret agent in the past hour, and he found himself in a risky and rancid new environment, with new enemies his only guides.
Don't you big city gobs got any bugsies, then?
Asked John Gobby, shaking Hunter out of his self-distracting contemplation upon the afterlife of turds.
Yeah, how to use deflect magic without bugsies,
chipped in Lefty, his voice retaining that suspicious edge, like some never-to-be-resolved tension lingering in the air. Yeah, echoed John Gobby and Lucky together, underscoring their boss's sceptical tone. Oh, well, we don't need magic to fend off fairies, as the London pollutions chase them away like, bees. And the disused power station's got plenty of lighting, what with being in the middle of a big city, responded Hunter readily enough, though not entirely to the satisfaction of the inquisitive goblins.
What about Humokes? There's plenty of them jugglers in the big city, ain't there? It's their city, ain't it? Yous must play pranks on them like us Mabalinos do to keep them jumpy.
Lefty inquired, seemingly genuinely curious about the life of a goblin in the big city.
Yeah, we's always sneaking into their houses through the cat flap at night time and messing with their gadgets and gazmos, their computers and junk,
expounded John Gobby.
Though damn cockamamie gremlins get all the credit for that, and gremlins ain't even real. It's just us wise guys doing a little midnight sabotage for kicks,
confessed Lucky. Hey, I wonder if goblins had anything to do with my switch stopping working for no reason, thought Hunter, somewhat indignant at the possibility they had. Oh, yes, of course, Hunter verbally fumbled about for the right-sounding fib. Us big city gobsters, are always punking those pesky humokes who think they're so cool with their Nintendo Switches and non-bog water-based beverages. Like sometimes we, get this, sneak into their houses at night through the cat flap, just like you small-town gobsters, though we have to hack into the sensors of high-tech big city cat flaps first. Then we shake their fizzy drinks up and place them back in the fridge. Then, the next day, when the humokes open their ring pools at lunchtime, the soda spurts out of the can and all over their work clothes and school uniforms. That'll teach 'em, eh, fellas? Lefty, John Gobby and Lucky stopped dead in their tracks and huddled ambiguously around Hunter. The unforgiving glare of their bogsies dazzled him. At this claustrophobically close range, bathed in the off-white light and backdropped by the shadow play on the sewer walls, the goblins looked terrifying. 6 goblin eyes narrowed until they resembled poisonous paper cuts. 3 goblin mouths gritted goblin fangs, as if biting down on silent snarls. Each goblin gob looked like a densely packed, upside-down graveyard of dirty vanilla tombstones had crashed on top of a densely packed, right way up graveyard of dirty vanilla tombstones. Their huge goblin conchs were almost touching Hunter's masked face, hovering so closely that Hunter felt like someone was threatening to jab him with 3 colossal gnarled carrots, the maxed-out carrots on sale at the supermarkets in the run-up to Christmas. Christmas was a carrot's time to shine. And then the trio of real goblins all burst out laughing, hearty cackles ringing throughout the dark, echoic sewer. Reminded Hunter of when his mum had her friends over for nibbles, and they started drinking that Prosecco wine stuff which made them all super giggly. His dad would just roll his eyes, take Hunter upstairs, and they'd watch an action movie, sometimes one with lots of fighting, explosions, and guns, which Hunter wasn't sure was suitable for 7 3/4-year-olds, if he was honest, but he wasn't complaining. He liked fighting, explosions, and guns.
Yous do what now? You shake their fizzy drinks up and it explodes in their big stupid humoke faces? That's priceless. Out of sight. Yous big city gobs are loco,
guffawed Lefty, tears streaming down his leathery chocolate cheeks.
Wish I could just see one of them humokes with lime and H bubbles blasting up their button noses and all over their forest chopping faces. I love me a taste of that action.
Lucky chortled, trying to stifle another spitter-spatter of open-mouthed, dung-breath laughter and failing. I think the humokes call it lemonade, not lime and H, Lucky, you wise gob. But yeah, it is quite funny, isn't it? Corrected Hunter good-naturedly, relapsing into his newfound niche as the Mobilino class clown.
Forget about it. Yous big city gobs are the dons of pranks,
congratulated Lefty, before slapping Hunter on the back with chummy gusto. Chummily, yet also rather forcefully, say gusto force 10. The quartet moseyed on, cat-like moseying, along the sewer ledge a few minutes more, Lefty and his 2 underlings still periodically giggling when they recalled what big city gobs like Crazy Joe Pumpkins did to prank humokes. Little did they know, Crazy Joe Pumpkins was in actuality a humoke himself, albeit one who was only aged 7 3/4 and who had been reduced to goblin height by the sorcery of their arch rivals. The gang of goblins stopped dead again, just before the ledge was about to turn a corner. The darkness was getting darker, and the stink was getting stinkier. What are we waiting for, Lefty, boss? Asked Hunter.
Why, we're waiting for Sharona, of course.
Lefty answered, as if that should be self-explanatory, even to an out-of-town goblin like Hunter was pretending to be.
She's a pretty one, sighed Lucky. She makes my motor run,
seconded John Gobby, a romantic yearning prompting him to smack his goblin lips with his triangular goblin tongue. Either that, or his lips were just dry. Out of the blue, well, brown more like, Hunter heard a tremendous rippling sound, not quite a splashing, but more as if something mahoosive was churning up this man-made subsurface river of poo and pee in its wake. It gave Hunter quite the jolt. Jolt force 10. The whole tunnel seemed to pulsate with the imminent presence of whatever this leviathan might be. The goblins turned their bogsy lights towards the blind corner, the one their sewer saunter had stalled at. Coming around this corner was an eerie figure, seemingly floating atop the wastewater's surface, illuminated by the combined rays of the bogsy amulets. The figure was goblin size, but draped in a raggedy hooded cowl like the Grim Reaper. It was impossible at this range to discern what dreadful facial features might be concealed by this baggy hood and the mysterious shadow it cast upon its wearer's visage. The figure stopped right next to the ledge where Hunter and the goblins were standing. Suddenly, directly in front of this spooky water walker, a gargantuan alligator's head writhed with whiplash speed from the gooky underground brook of body sludge. It was 1,000,000 miles away from the Florida Everglades. Its jaws clacked as it let out a primal hiss, giving Hunter the fright of his young life. "Log-rolling leprechauns," he squeakily blurted out in terror, trembling so much he nearly slipped off the slimy ledge.
Looks like Crazy Joey's scared of something after all. Ain't you got no gatorportation in the big city? Suppose yous ain't slumming it in the sewers, what with your fancy-schmancy abandoned power station, eh? How did you think we got around Stink Street? We ain't swimming in no hummoke butt mud. Mobolino crew's got standards, see?" said Lefty, a touch defensively, and savouring Hunter/Joey Pumpkin's Frady Gob loss of face. Goblins like getting one over on each other. "I wasn't expecting it, that's all," countered Hunter, eager to regain a little gob cred. "We don't need gatorportation at the power station. Besides, the Humokes might come back and switch off the juice if they notice a stubby-legged Godzilla swerving its 10-ton tail in and out." "How's Gobzilla?" asked Lucky, and looked at John Gobby, who shrugged his shoulders. Joey Pumpkin sure spoke a strange dialect of Goblingo. It was now plain the hooded water walker was riding atop the alligator's back. Despite the Grim Reaper garb, when the alligator rider outstretched an arm and opened their palm, it wasn't a skeletal hand, but a goblin's, the fingernails of which were painted with a neon lime green nail polish. Lefty high-fived the outstretched palm, and the figure pulled back its Reaper cowl. It was indeed another goblin, though with slightly more delicate features than those of the goblins Hunter had met so far, with a nose merely as long as a run-of-the-mill parsnip. This goblin was also wearing neon lime green lipstick to match her neon lime green nail polish. "Hey, Sharona, you Cabela Guma! How you doing, beautiful? I owe you one for the ride,"
greeted Lefty, slapping on thick lashings of what passed for his charm.
"No problem, Lefty. Forget about it. Hey, Lefty, who's the cute new Bellino dressed like a little humoke?"
replied Sharona in a nasally voice, which for a she-goblin qualified as a dulcet feminine tone.
"Hey, Sharona, don't sprain his sprouts,"
Lefty rebuked Sharona lightheartedly.
"He's a friend of mine, Joey Pumpkins from the big city. Come on, Joey, hop on the gator's back. His name's Lincoln, and he don't bite. Well, he does, but he won't bite a friend of mine, will he, Sharona?"
"If you say so, Lefty," answered Sharona aloofly. John Gobby and Lucky had already leapt off the ledge and onto the back of the alligator known as Lincoln. The three male goblins looked at Hunter expectantly. Sharona was playing it coy. He'd have to accompany them, not only because, unbeknownst to them, he was on a mission from F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E, but also because they were the ones with the bogsy lights, and he didn't want to be treading along a slippery ledge next to a subterranean canal of, to quote Lefty, humoke butt mud in the pitch darkness. Now was not the time for alligator phobia, even though common sense told Hunter it was always the time for alligator phobia. Feeling rather like the gingerbread man in the fairy tale who hitched an ill-fated ride upon a fox to cross a river, Hunter braced himself and then jumped aboard the scaly ridged back of Sharona's alligator. Lincoln's black-green scales seemed to stretch out endlessly into the fetid black-brown body sludge behind his passengers, where the reptile's long back at some point became the reptile's even longer tail.